Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the farm. Thanks for joining us tonight. You see the pigs here behind me. I'm trying to video this, lugging about 50 pounds of food over while we're shooting a video. Now I realize we haven't put a video up in quite some time. Been super busy here, as I'm sure most of you are that are watching this. Anybody into homesteading or farming, this is your time, guys. This is the busy season. It has been chaos. So I figured tonight a little bit, we're gonna walk you around the farm, show you what's going on here, just give you an update, kind of big picture, what we're doing, all the projects. Most of them are gonna be unfinished, of course, but we'll talk about that, give you a rundown kind of what's going on, and of course, we'll see if anything fun happens. So as I alluded to, we're about to feed the pigs now. You can see them definitely pretty hungry. And what we're going to feed them, still working on our brewer's grain here. Feed them roughly about 50 pounds a day. Food scraps, as always. Just had the little guy's first birthday this past weekend. So we're working our way through those scraps. Pretty awesome, great little supplement to them. Varying their nutrition a little bit and so forth. We'll go ahead, let's get them in before Ziggy comes through the fence at us. So I'm trying to do a little bit of math here as we're walking, and I just picked up today, it was actually our fourth load of this brewer's grain. Oh, almost forgot Daisy's milk bottle. Yeah, it was our fourth load of the brewer's grain. Figure about 300 pounds every time we're picking up. So if you do the math on that, call that $120 for a 300 pound load. That would be about the equivalent for commercial feed. So call it $480, $500 we've saved so far. Pretty awesome savings in just over, I'd say a little over a month, closer to 2 maybe. So definitely huge cost savings for us as far as raising these pigs out. Again, you guys that aren't familiar, we got Ziggy and Betsy here, our boar and our sow. We got the 6 piglets here. American guinea hog Hampshire crosses. So they're taking a long time to raise and to grow out. We're gonna give it about a year, so end of October. I was just talking to my buddy who's gonna be getting a pig from me as well. And the time of year for us will probably be end of October, maybe the very beginning of November to process these. So we'll see what happens in that time. Last year we harvested them at, I think it was about eight months or so. And they were relatively small, that's okay. But I wanna see what kind of weight we can put on in about a year. Again, with all the supplemental feed that we're getting for free, we can definitely afford to push them out longer. Once we get them into this next paddock as well, they're gonna have a lot more natural forage. You guys have all seen this, anyone that's been watching the channel, but they have pretty much decimated this one. So we're gonna get them in behind me, and that'll be, well, that's just another project that we're working on. So we got time to do that one. That one is probably a lot lower on the pecking list, I guess you'd say. And then while we're up here, the original sheep pasture, this is where they were last year. Admittedly, we've overgrazed this, but it is starting to come up. You know, there's gonna be a lot of weeds in here. You know, naturally you overgraze, you're gonna pretty much get whatever seed bank is in the ground. So you can see all sorts of stuff, but the good thing is the sheep are gonna love this. They're not too picky, so we'll get them out here probably a little later in the summer. I think my next plan for our sheep is to actually get them into the original corral here that we have made out of woven wire. And the reason for that, I seeded this about 2-3 months ago. It's all starting to come up now. You can see it's all sorts of crap in here, but the sheep will go in here, they'll kind of clean it up again. Down on the other side where my old beat up truck is, that's actually nice grass, nice pasture grass that's coming up down there. So there's definitely plenty of forage for the sheep. So getting them in and then out of here pretty quickly. This is actually where I had the pigs this past fall. Again, I'm gonna keep saying this, but you guys that are familiar with the channel, you'll recognize the pig feeder here. This is kind of where I always shot videos here, feeding the pigs. And I don't know if you guys can hear that. That is a bobcat screaming. So let's see. for whatever reason, this time in the evening, we have been hearing the bobcat up on the ridge line there. I'm not sure why. I mean, it's been hanging out there now for a couple of years. No harm to the farm or anything like that. We're not too concerned. So that pretty much brings us around to our sheep, and you can see Daisy. When Daisy sees us, she's coming because she's our bottle lamb, and she's trained for this. Everyone else is coming in behind me. What's up, guys? So here we are with Daisy. She is closing in on 8 weeks, and I'm pretty much giving her a bottle every other day now at this point, slowly weaning her off, and she's become better. For whatever reason, this animal will try to run through any fence. So if you get over here and you're not going to feed her, well, she's coming to you anyway. She's been tangled up in this netting several times. Can be really a pain. And it's also, traumatizing for them. So I know I just mentioned moving the sheep to this next pasture, the little corral that we had them originally in. That's really just to buy us time, quite frankly. Our new pasture is the goal. The growth over there is getting out of control. We want to get them in there quickly. However, we got to get an energizer. We got to get that all squared away. I got to get my shelter finished. You guys have seen I kind of teased that a little bit, a little hoop house design. It's going to be a mobile shelter that I can pull paddock to paddock. Obviously, it's all work, so there's a lot going on here. If you haven't been able to tell, it is garden season. I've been scrambling trying to get plants in the ground. In typical fashion, I'm going to grow a lot more than I had originally planned. Had a lot of starts out. So scrambling now to find bed space. I actually went out today. I picked up a tiller. I'll probably actually do a video on that as well. Show you guys kind of how that thing runs. If it does the job I need, I really need to till up a bunch of beds and a bunch of beds quickly because it is May 13th. Our average last frost is May 12th. So we really should be getting these plants in the ground here this week. So being that is a time sensitive thing, that is probably our first priority right now. Get those beds dug and then get those plants in the ground. After that, I'm going to be able to kind of ease it back a little bit and start working on some of these other projects again. I just put up a pig waterer, just the nipple waterers. That makes it so much easier. Although I can't catch the pigs actually using it, but I have all the signs that show that they're at least making the attempt. So they're not going to go thirsty. They're smart animals. They'll figure it out. But as far as the sheep, everyone's doing good. Daisy, I think wants more milk, but we're empty here. See our little lamb up here. Still can't get too close to her, but all doing well. Mama's doing well. We were definitely a little concerned after our loss earlier in the spring. So that's great news. Growing along, and she's actually to the point where she's getting almost close to size as Daisy. So growing very well here. We got our other guys here. We got Spot, Brownie, and Coco. I had thought Brownie here was going to give us some lambs, but it's getting a little late for that, so I don't know if that's going to happen. But you never know. She hasn't really shed yet, and that's something the Katahdins will do. All the others are pretty much shed off. You can see Coco looking a little haggard here, but she's shedding as well. They'll pretty much all be cleaned up for summer here as the weather warms up. Looks like we had a hard day of grazing here, and to put it into perspective, this pasture, I had been worried that it was completely overgrazed. With the amount of rain we've had and just the weather conditions this time of the year, everything is really growing up as they're in here. We don't have that many animals. It's not the greatest quality, but it is pretty amazing that it's growing up right behind them. I would still like to get them out of here just due to the manure load alone, and that's why we have plans of moving them here very shortly. And this is pretty interesting, the wisteria vines here. It's a really cool view coming through, especially with the sunlight shining through the woods here. We got vines on vines, purple and pink flowers hanging down. And the ironic thing, I think that these are kind of poisonous to sheep. They know better though. I've never had an issue with this. Over time, I would like to get the pigs in here because then, they would root up a lot of these vines. They are pretty much on the ground, and then they'll find any tree, anything. They'll climb fence posts, electrical lines. They'll do anything to climb. So having a pig in here would do wonders as far as getting rid of them. We fought this battle when we were doing the house. You know, we are up a little bit away from the house right now, but this was definitely a battle right up against our house. And you know, it was endless amounts of cutting and hauling this stuff away. So we'll move on from the sheep and into that original corral, pasture, whatever you want to call it. You can see again, guys, the grass is coming up pretty nice in here. I did seed this, and that stuff's actually starting to come up. This was a high traffic area from the pigs right here by the feeder. But down as we kind of work our way down here, you definitely get a lot of grasses coming in. So they definitely could get in here and graze. That'll be the next move. Like I said, probably give them about a week in here, and then we'll get them right back out of here to avoid the overgrazing again. Plenty of pasture established at this point to allow us to avoid the overgrazing. That's really the goal. We want to get into more of or better farming practices. Sometimes, and this is a tip for anyone that's starting out, put the fencing in first. I know you always hear that, you know, when we thought we were good to go, which obviously we had no major issues, but you always want to make sure that you can do things right to begin with. So this is our old ram skull, and basically what I'm using this for is, if you guys have ever heard of a maggot bucket, it's the same concept. You're going to put some sort of rotting piece of meat or something like that into a bucket and hang it above your chickens. I don't know if you'll definitely won't be able to see this on the camera, but there's a ton of maggots all over this and flies and all sorts of stuff. As that stuff falls to the ground, your chickens are going to come in here and they're going to eat this stuff up. They're going to love it. Great protein source. I know it sounds kind of savage, but in turn, this skull is going to get cleaned up. So give it time. Everything here is going to get cleaned up down to the bone, and you're basically going to have almost like a mount, and that's really the goal here. I didn't have time to be messing around with boiling a head. Bucky's horns, obviously, alone made me want to keep the skull, so we'll see if this gets cleaned up real nice. But right now, it's just extra protein for the chickens. Turn it into eggs. We don't eat these chickens. These are these are our egg birds, but definitely giving us high quality eggs on top of it. So using pretty much every resource we can get our hands on. Speaking of eggs, we got a couple right here. I'll come back later for them. I don't have an extra hand. Also got a dirty bucket. I want to try to keep that stuff at least a little bit clean. One thing about eggs, and I don't know if you guys know this, you don't need to wash eggs. They don't need to come in actually the same day either. You know, think about how a chicken will actually incubate in nature, how a chicken will actually sit on their eggs. It's 21 days until they hatch, so essentially those eggs can sit for a while. Now, I wouldn't want a fertile egg to be sat on for, call it 2 weeks, and then you pull it out, because you're probably going to have a little chick there. But you can leave them in a few days. As long as you don't have a broody hen, you're not going to have any issues. One thing I will caution, gate's closed. One thing I will caution, when the weather is cold, when you get freezing temperatures, your eggs actually will freeze and they will crack. So moving on, and this is a little path I created. As soon as we got the property, the first thing we did was put the chicken coop. For whatever reason, we decided to put it in the jungle that we have here. I got to get in and weed whack this a little bit, but it is a nice little path. We have our spring here, a little overflow. I have my piping for our ram pump here, which actually goes right underground down through the little creek, the spring-fed creek here. You can't see it here in the heart of spring, but the pipe pretty much runs down about 100 feet, hits our ram pump, which in turn is going to pump our water up to our pasture. Call it, I just put 100 feet of hose in, so 400 feet roughly up to our pigs. So I figure if we're giving you the full update, we might as well show you this part as well. You can see we're about 100 feet down from what I just showed you. Here's our ram pump just ticking away. This thing will run and run and run. One thing I just recently did as well, so I just have a 55-gallon drum that I'm pumping water to, and then I have those nipples off the main hole there. As it gets to a certain point, you're going to start overflowing. Basically, I just have a hole cut in the top with the hose that goes into it, and you're going to overflow. So you cut a hole just a little bit beneath your infeed, and that's going to bring your water back out. And I'm basically using that as irrigation right now for the pasture. So kind of getting multiple uses out of the water there, rather than just letting it flood right over the barrel, which I've done in the past, and then the pigs go through, they create a mud hole, it gets crazy. This helps create an irrigation channel, which in turn is going to make our pasture better, get our animals in there, and these are how some of your systems can start to work together. So now I bring you over here to our garden, if you want to call it this. Like I said, guys, we got a lot of work to do this week in this garden. Right now I just have pig netting around it, and really the goal for that is our chickens are going crazy over here in the yard right now with everything that's growing up. So believe it or not, this pig netting has actually kept the chickens out. It's actually funny that they'll just go right up to it and they'll turn around almost knowing. Now it is electrified. I have a little Premier One solar charger on it, so that will deter them. You know, they hit that and they're gonna be spooked off. But our strawberries right here coming in very nicely. Out of the 45-ish plants I put in, I think we only lost one, so definitely a pleasant surprise there. Broccoli and cabbage, not so much this year. I've never had issues with them, and for some reason my starts just, I don't know what I did. For some reason our starts just didn't do what they're supposed to do. Getting a bunch of lettuce here in the back, starting to come up, carrots and so forth. And then over here where I have this tarp that kind of blew off, that's where I'm going to start tilling and doing a bunch of beds. Now, I'm not a huge fan of tilling, but as far as establishing a bed, it's definitely a great solution to get a bed going, at least get it dug, especially if you're just going right into your yard like we are. So good way to get it started, and that's what we're going to do next. We got at least 5, 6, 7, 8, who knows, we'll see how far I can go, but we're gonna put a bunch of rows in, pretty much get everything else in there, peppers, tomatoes, beans, you name it, pretty much anything that you guys would grow we'll put in there. That's probably, like I said, that's our main priority right now. The animals, the big thing is your animals, you just got to keep them going right now. Everything's so green and luscious that they're gonna have plenty of food, so we're not really concerned about that. Although we do want to get them moved and we do have plans for them, you got to prioritize. That's the only way you're ever going to get things done. Brings us to Donald here, our lone duck. He's a pretty cool looking guy, but he's pretty much a pet at this point. I've never been one to have pets here on the homestead, but that's what he's turned into. Hank out of the feed bucket. Hank likes to torment him, and I think he equally likes to torment Hank, so they have a good time. The kids love coming down here and taking a look at him as well. He is a really cool looking bird. Definitely ducks have that personality, that's for sure. Eventually here we'll look to add more, that's for sure. We'll look to add more ducks. Last thing, there's our mobile sheep shelter that we're starting. Again, just a simple hoop house design. More to come on that one. As soon as I get working on it, I'll show you guys the breakdown, what it costs us, everything like that. You can see our pasture across the street really coming in. So the sheep are gonna love that when we get over there. But anyway, that's a quick update tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed hearing the many things we have going on. And I'm definitely probably missing a few, so we'll be in touch soon. Really appreciate you guys watching again. If you like what we're doing, as always, give us a thumbs up, like this video, share, subscribe, and all of the above. Thanks for watching, guys. We're gonna get some work done. Have a great night.